Greetings, everybody. Welcome to the January 27th, 2016 edition of the Midweek Update here on Rasslin with Redbeard. While all my friends were on Facebook clamoring about how good the Panthers were doing Sunday evening, I was like this over AJ Styles. Number 5 story of the week is that WWE Hall of Famer Sonny has filmed an adult video. This is one of those stories where there's just only so many things I'm going to be able to say before this goes off into a deep end of really sad and kind of weird things that I just assume not talk about on this show. Last week we discussed the fact that Sonny had put up her WWE Hall of Fame ring for sale on eBay, of all places, and she was asking somewhere in the area of about $3,000. It's kind of a small amount of money, but at any rate, one of the head honchos at Vivid Video had come forward offering her $100,000 for the ring, but the kind of a trap clause in there was that she would have to do an adult video if she wanted to sell the video, or sell the ring for that amount of money. Didn't think it was going to happen, to be honest with you, and it did. It turned around pretty quickly because there's already a preview video. They've already got the title out there. It's already seemingly a done deal, and from what she said anyway, the $100,000 was kind of an introductory offer that they apparently did sweeten the deal for somewhat. Whatever. You get whatever you can, I guess, at this point in your career, Sonny. I'll cap off my commentary by going into the actual title of the video, because I think that's the only funny thing about it at this point. The video is called Sunny Side Up In Through the Back Door. Yeah. Go ahead and make your own conclusions about where that is headed there. Yeah, this is getting weird. I'm just going to go ahead and shut up right now, because this is just too stupid for me. Number 4 story of the week is that a Lucha Underground producer has claimed WWE tried to shut them down. This was something that was stated during an interview by Krista Joseph, who people may remember as Big Dick Johnson from WWE programming here back a couple of years ago. At that point in time, he was a creative writer for WWE in addition to performing that character. He's now a co-executive producer for Lucha Underground. He came forward here recently and said that WWE basically tried to shut them down by hiring away a lot of their top talent. And that would definitely seem like a possibility. I don't know that they were really trying to shut them down per se, as they were just pursuing a lot of the 8 number 1 guys who were in that group there. Of course, you had someone like Alberto Del Rio, who did accept an offer from WWE, who had previously been with Lucha Underground, AAA, and other groups as well. But his story goes along and corroborates not only that, but what we've heard from guys like Angelico, Prince Puma, others who evidently got at least some bit of attraction from talking to WWE during the off-season for Lucha Underground there. Of course, this is one of those things that you have to take with a grain of salt, because the fact of the matter is, yes, they may have been trying to hire away Lucha Underground talent, but it wasn't that far long ago that people didn't even think there was going to be a Lucha Underground Season 2, or at least they weren't sure if there was going to be. So you kind of have to take that for what it is. Yes, they were pursuing those guys who were associated with Lucha Underground, and then no, it might not have even worked out that they were going to be Lucha Underground talent later on after all. So, it is what it is. This is one of those stories where someone gets a bit of a headline and then it goes from there, but still it does reiterate a point that a lot of people, and myself included, have thought here over time, and that is that WWE is signing a lot of guys and girls to talent contracts more or less to keep them away from other groups like Global Force or TNA, Ring of Honor even. So it's an interesting tactic, but they've got deep pockets and they're investing in themselves by bringing in this type of talent. So we'll have to see where it goes in the future, but for Lucha Underground, at least they still have a good bit of people to work with. Number 3 story of the week is that Jim Ross will be joining New Japan Pro Wrestling's TV broadcast on Access TV here in the United States. This is a big story from the fact that Jim Ross, of course, is a very beloved commentator. He is very missed, I will go ahead and say. Of course, growing up around Crockett Promotions, WCW, and also WWE for the longest time, Jim Ross was the voice of a lot of those programs. So to have Michael Cole and others involved in them these days, it still kind of sounds different than it should, for lack of a better way of putting it. So the fact that he'll be involved with a group like New Japan is a big deal, because New Japan is, of course, one of the top promotions in the world, and they're trickling more and more into the domestic market here in the United States. The popularity, of course, the Wrestle Kingdom program is getting bigger and bigger every year. You have talent from New Japan that are starting to cross over into other promotions. You see some of their guys, of course, pop up in WWE every once in a while with a group, or a personality like Jushin Thunder Liger showing up in the NXT programming. And of course, these guys are getting opportunities in TNA, Global Force, Ring of Honor, all over the place. So to have a associated name like Jim Ross being affiliated with them will do nothing but continue to let them grow here in the United States, and that's a great thing. Evidently, he's going to begin with them on the March 4th broadcast. I believe those kick off at 9 p.m. on Access TV, and he's going to be doing those commentary duties alongside former UFC fighter Josh Barnett. So they got a good little combination of folks there to work with on that program. Definitely be looking forward to seeing what he can do in the future with New Japan. Number 2 story of the week is that TNA Wrestling has issued allegations. Okay, let's take a deep breath here before we get going. There's some Carolina fans who like to bring up a term called Clemsoning. Well, I'm going to go ahead and coin a phrase of TNAing. That's what this is. TNA Wrestling last Friday released a statement basically saying that AJ Styles, Doc Gallows, and Carl Anderson, all of whom had been associated with New Japan, essentially signed agreements with TNA Wrestling, and that they were supposed to be honoring them, but they're not going to anymore. It was some type of a private meeting that was evidently held in mid-December of last year, where these guys and Dixie Carter, John Gaburik, a few other people got together and had a meeting. And so according to what the statement read anyway, they signed some type of agreement saying, okay, well, we're going to come in and be a part of TNA Wrestling. I don't believe for one moment that anything was signed, because evidently there were no lawyers present, there were no people there who would be any type of official, in my opinion. But even as it may, even if they were there for one split second, I don't believe that those three would have signed deals with TNA, not after what they've been through here recently. But it's one of those things where the timing of it comes off as a very bitter type of thing, because for weeks now people have been throwing around rumors about when they're going to begin with WWE, because people pretty well knew that they were going to. Beginning started with them soon, but didn't know when, of course. Still, the timing of it is one of those things where it's just petty and bitter, and it's typical of a company like that. I hate to say it, but it really truly is. And here's my thought on the whole process there as well. This is not the playground anymore. This is not something that we should be handling with childish attitudes. If TNA felt like they had anything that they could have done with these three talents, AJ Styles in particular, because he was the one who seemed to be proud to make a debut quicker than anybody else. If they had anything that they could have done legally or any other methodology, then file a lawsuit. Sue AJ Styles for all he's worth, or whatever you can get out of him, to prevent him from debuting with WWE. They didn't do that. They took this petty, squabbling little method that they could churn up to try and take attention away from him debuting in WWE. And that's the worst part of it. It goes right along with what everybody says about Dixie Carter and TNA Wrestling, and that they are this kind of podunk company run by this little girl from Texas who's got her daddy's money to work with. And, I hate to say it, but that's really what it's come off as. And I haven't watched TNA or Impact here since the debut of Pop TV, and after this I really don't have any plan to again, because it's really just left a sour taste in my mouth. And I know business is what it is, but still, this is just really, really, really the bottom of the barrel as far as I'm concerned. And of course, the number one story of the week is our reaction to WWE's Royal Rumble. Top to bottom, this was a very entertaining show. I know that there are a lot of people who didn't feel that way because of how it ended with the Royal Rumble match. It's very odd that you have a show become as divisive as this one did based on one match alone, and that, of course, was the Royal Rumble match, which Triple H did win. He's now the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. to be honest with you, I don't have a problem with it. I know people are saying, well, he doesn't need the championship at this point in his life. But if you look at the structure of the Royal Rumble match itself, there were a lot of moments built into that show, or into that match, to where you had potential for feuds to come later on. For example, AJ Styles and Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. The Wyatt family and Brock Lesnar. There's all kinds of little opportunities there that are going to be a part of the future booking in WWE between now and WrestleMania because of it having been set up during the Royal Rumble match. They used it as a great medium, I have to say. So I'm a very big fan of what they did there. Can't say anything negative about the Royal Rumble match itself. The show overall, as I mentioned, was very entertaining. The opening hour was just about the best hour of pay-per-view that I've seen in a long time. Especially the opening match. Kevin Owens and Dean Ambrose, hats off to you. You did a phenomenal job out there. Told a great story. Used the gimmicks in the match great. Just could not gush any more about that match. Very entertaining. Great way to kick off the show. Then you had the lead-in, of course, there with the Tag Team Championship match, which was always going to be entertaining because of the fact you've got New Day and the Usos in there. A group of guys that can go 100% of the time. The kind of midsection in there with the Divas Championship and the United States Championship wobbled a little bit, but still, nothing there that's worthy of complaining about or making a big stink over. So, the thing about it too is that going into that show, Fastlane, the next pay-per-view, didn't seem all that interesting. But coming out of it, suddenly Fastlane becomes something that we kind of have to look forward to because a lot could happen there. And speaking of a lot being able to happen, a lot's going to be happening here in the next couple of weeks with our local independent shows because we've got a lot happening this weekend and we've got a whole lot happening next weekend with the first weekend in February. But that said, there are about 12 shows that we're aware of happening this weekend in or around the Carolinas. And that's a lot, but it's not as many as there are going to be next weekend. Trust me. You can go ahead and start flipping through the album of posters on the Rasslin with Redbeard Facebook page to get an idea of what's happening there. But at any rate, let's go ahead and roll the posters for this weekend and give you an idea of what's happening around this part of the world. There you have it, folks, our rundown of the events that are happening in this part of the world this coming weekend. If you're a wrestler, a promoter, or in some way involved with a wrestling promotion, and you didn't see your poster on that part of the show, it's because we didn't know about it. We do our best at Rasslin with Redbeard to try and peruse social media to keep abreast of what's happening in this part of the world, but we do miss things. That said, if you'd send in your information to us, your poster, information about your promotion, be glad to get yourself on the show here and also on the Rasslin with Redbeard Facebook page. It's a big part of what we do here on Rasslin with Redbeard is promoting the local shows and talent around this part of the world. That said, we also want to chime in as Lucha Underground fans that we are and say be sure to tune in this evening because Lucha Underground Season 2 debuts tonight on El Rey Network. I think it might be at either 8 or 9 p.m. I've got to make sure of that myself, but just go ahead and be ready to sit in front of the TV there for a nice hour of professional wrestling action. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you enjoy the program, go and click that like button. If you really enjoy what we've got on the channel here, please click subscribe. That way you'll know when we've uploaded something new as far as match videos, Rasslin with Redbeard main shows, or these midweek updates as well. Appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next week.